Three letters you hate to hear in relationship to your favorite team. M-R-I. Dang, I hate those letters, at least when they're put together that way. We'll talk about who needs it and why next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Well, thankfully, those MRI letters have nothing to do with Jacob deGrom. And yeah, he is out of the top spot in the Rangers pitching rotation. But that is not bad news. We get to that in just a second. Jacob deGrom is fine, healthy, through a bullpen today. Jeff Wilson joins us on the DLLS Rangers podcast from Surprise, Arizona. And we've got the Prophet over here. We want you to chat along as we've got a news-intensive day from Arizona, from here in Dallas, from all over the place, Jeff. But the news and the person with whom those nasty three letters are connected is Adolis Garcia. Did we lose Jeff? Okay, so I'll continue with it. Adolis has been scratched from today's game. He was in the lineup, scheduled to play in today's game, got to the ballpark and reported, no doubt, first to the training staff and then ultimately to the manager and everyone else that he was feeling something in his left oblique. That is not a place that you want a big, powerful hitter to feel anything uncomfortable. And that is very unfortunate news. Now, that said, all that is happening is that he is being scratched from today's game, and they'll have an MRI, those three letters I hate when they're conjoined that way. But it's still, it's Jeff, I was just kind of telling everybody what the news was, but now, you said it, maybe, I know on your first trip, it might have been your first day out there last trip. Don't panic, but maybe it's not a bad idea to know where the panic button is here.
Yeah, this one's a little later in camp, so it's going to be a little more of a concern, I think. Nathaniel Lowe is the one to think about because last year he was hurt on March the 8th, and then next thing you know, he's out for a month. Today is March 4th? I gotta check with my computer. And so there's a little concern. Now, Nathaniel Lowe was hurt during the game. Adolis just came in this morning feeling something. So it's on the left side. And so they're getting him checked out. So, you do kind of hold your breath a little bit, and then you start to wonder, well, if it's something, how long, where does it take you, who suddenly becomes the backup, things like that. So we'll see. Maybe the results will come out later this afternoon. Get the imaging, get it sent probably to Dr. Meister, have him look at it, get word back, talk to the player, and then see where it goes. But at least he's being proactive about this one, not ignoring it, and doing the best he can to feel good, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a temptation always for an athlete to kind of go, well, yeah, it's just a little sore. I'll fight through it. But certainly Adolis knows at this point, and anybody that's reached the level of where he is knows you can't fight through this. You got to have it checked out immediately.
No doubt about it. And do it now. Get it done early here. It's still 23 days before the season. So if you do end up missing time to start the year, okay, but you're minimizing that. You're not hoping it goes away. You're maybe even by getting out in front of it, you're preventing it from getting worse. So, but again, we need to tap the brakes a little bit before we start reshaping the roster and trying to figure out who's going to replace him. And oh my God, what's going to happen to the Rangers lineup?
Yeah, no
But
no
but
trips to
certainly
the
those.
injured no trips to the injured list necessary yet. And just to sort of exemplify that sort of hero attitude that so many of these athletes have when they're troubled, they're hobbled, they're feeling something, you need look no further than what Kyrie Irving did last night. He goes down in a heap with a knee injury. He hobbles with help over to the free throw line and drops 2 free throws, Jeff, before leaving with assistance. And ultimately, later today, find out that he has a torn ACL. He'll miss the remainder of the season. I guess that's a way of just saying it could be worse.
Well, and even Kyrie, knowing he was pretty hurt, understood that if he didn't shoot the free throws, he couldn't come back in the game. Maybe they had Mr. Miyagi back there ready to do something to fix his knee. Who knows? But he recognized that, hey, maybe just maybe there's a chance I can get back today. And obviously that didn't happen, and that's terrible news because he's seems like he's becoming a now that now that that now that we got that damn 77 out of the way, it seemed like now
Yeah,
Kyrie is
yeah,
coming into his own and taking a prominent role at the club. Not that he hadn't been, but face of the franchise for
yeah,
sure. But yeah, you kind of think about what you're talking about, playing hero, and a lot of young players have to learn. Look, if it's bad, just say it's bad. Okay, don't try to fight through it. I think there's some of that last year with Evan Carter, and I think that's what makes Wyatt Langford deciding to tell the club about what he was feeling, and getting that taken care of. Uh, Kind of a mature sign, if you will. This is his second spring, and a lot of things are expected of him. And but he had the understanding and the wherewithal to recognize it's very early in spring training. There's no need to rush this and make it worse. So, um, speaking of Wyatt, he is currently on the field. Jake Berger's in the batter's box, but Wyatt's in that group. He should be playing in a game by the end of this week. Um, Bruce Bochy this morning said 3 or 4 days. So yeah, today's Tuesday. So just the math tells you it'll be Friday or Saturday. Kevin Pillar is also in this group, and now we were wondering just last week, geez, how is this going to shake out? How is this guy going to make the roster? Who's going to lose their spot? And if Adolis is out for any length of time, well, they have Kevin Pillar to step in. He still has to produce. Dustin Harris is having a really a good spring. Um, Looks great, can play center field, can play right field. Uh, Alejandro Osuna, who I don't think is going to make the team, but he's playing every day, and he has made a Bruce Bochy loves the guy, just loves him. So does Tony Beasley, the outfield instructor now. So there are options if the Rangers lose Garcia, if Pilar isn't up to snuff. The Rangers have some outfield depth that they can call upon to get them through the first however many weeks of the season they need. But I think that again, these are all things we can talk about. But until we get the official word from the club, probably ought to probably ought to try to have some semblance of calmness, like Kevin Bacon at the end of Animal House. He starts out, "Remain calm, all is well." So until the riot starts and he loses his mind, let's not go too crazy.
yeah. That's a great advice, and I wonder. So looking as you can, I think at Wyatt Langford, is he able to do, as near as you can tell, he's able to do everything, all baseball activities?
All baseball activities. He's been doing them for 4 or 5 days now after getting basically a week off. Um, no problems there. They just want to make sure everything is fine and that he has a chance to build back up to where he was. And yeah, Bruce Bochy said he's doing great. No problems at all whatsoever with Wyatt. So go ahead and um, feel good about Wyatt Langford because he's like I said, he's down there right now outside the cage. I think he's the next man in the box here after Kevin Pillar gets done.
Yeah, and to your point about Evan Carter last year, he ultimately confided that the hitting coaches were telling him, just do this, just complete your swing this way, and he said, "My body won't let me." Right, and so if if your
Right.
body is telling you you can't do what you previously did, yeah, it's probably time to say, "Ooh, maybe we need to have this looked at." And again, a young guy's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not going to necessarily recognize that as quickly as a guy who's been doing this for a long period of time, like Adolis has.
Yeah. Well, and Evan was the hero of the World Series or one of the heroes, and this young guy, he was a Rookie of the Year favorite all of a sudden, and I'm sure he wanted to be in there and compete and live up to some things and not disappoint people. But ultimately, it's about getting yourself healthy, and it, it can hurt the team to try to play through something, and get a healthy body in there, get yourself on the road back. I don't think it would have made a difference last year with Evan if he had reported in late April when he started feeling things instead of ultimately late May as it turned out. But um, it's still, be proactive, get out there, get in front of it, try to get healthy as soon as possible.
All right, so the Prophet's Genius thumbnail is one of those things that will hook people, Jeff. That's what we're looking for, hooking people and clicks. And of course, the headline says Jacob deGrom will not start opening day, which makes people go, I better click on this. Thank you for clicking. That only means he's going to be pushed back. We talked about this. You brought it up, Jeff, a month ago, maybe more, as a possibility. It is one other way of limiting the innings that this guy will get, right? Is that he'll have fewer starts if he starts, deeper in the rotation.
Sure, and doing that has allowed him to maybe take a slower pace than he normally would at spring training. He still hasn't thrown in a game yet. That's coming Friday. I watched him today throw a bullpen session. Everything was fine. He looks healthy. Again, a lot of people were watching it just to see the amazing thing that is Jacob deGrom, even if it's just throwing a side session in spring training. Um, so he's going to be fine. And you're right. This is the way, one way to slow him down. To make sure that he's able to make as many starts without putting him in at risk and without using all of his bullets. Remember, this team is anticipating a postseason appearance, and if you have a short series, then Jacob deGrom is one of your starters. You got to like your chances, especially if he can pitch two times. So yeah, nothing to be alarmed about at all by him not starting on opening day. He's right on the schedule the Rangers set out for him, and this way his first start will be likely the first game of the Cincinnati series, the first road series. Which is opening day, I believe, for the Reds. So maybe the weather gets a little tricky, but yeah, it's just one less chance for him to pitch, basically,
Yeah.
and you can still skip them. There's still a lot of ways to do this, but anything in the 20 to 25 start range will leave the Rangers just ecstatic, and they think that if they get that many starts from Jacob deGrom, they really are a favorite to win the West. If he's healthy and good for 25 starts, my gosh, we're talking about the best pitcher in the world. Talking about the best pitcher in the world who hasn't pitched in 2 years, and people still say he's the best pitcher in the world. So that tells you how good Jacob deGrom is.
Yeah.
And so it'll be uh, fun when he does pitch. You won't want to miss it. And by delaying it 5 days, it may actually extend him into October without any issues.
Well, yeah, and along those lines, Jeff, you picked a ridiculously good time to go. You're going to see deGrom's first outing. You'll see Wyatt Langford in the lineup. So you made these plans a while ago, but it works out quite well. So more with Jeff coming up. In fact, the deGrom news begs another question, which we'll ask of Jeff and discuss next. Also coming up, a preview of today's game, and some cuts have already been made. It's all next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
John, I am back in Arizona, which means I can't use the Sleeper app this
Hate
week
that.
because Sleeper is not available in Arizona, but it is available in the great state of Texas. Sleeper, as you guys know, for anybody who's been watching us for a while, is getting into the daily picks business after being one of the leaders in the fantasy football industry. And if you are just joining us for the first time, if you use the code DLLS Rangers, you can get up to $100 first match on your first deposit at Sleeper. It's daily picks. It's easy to do. It's fun to do. It makes it makes learning. You can learn about sports. You can test your sports knowledge, and you can do it for as low as $1. You don't have to. You know, you're not even throwing out that much coin. It's basically, will so and so have more or less than a point total, or a rebound total, or a hits total, or a passing yardage total. It's lots of fun. I highly endorse it, and I've been doing it now since we launched. Haven't lost any money. I've made a little money. It's just added a lot of fun to the sports experience. So DLLS Rangers, download the Sleeper app.
Yeah, it's a good call. It's a good idea. We encourage you to do that and to do it in the bright glow of your Saturday neon sign. You can get one of those made with your favorite college team, or get it made with your own personal inscription on there. These are LED neon lights, and they're fantastic. They look just like neon, which, of course, gives a eerie and wonderful glow to any room, especially a sports room, a man cave, anything like that, your bar area. You should have neon there. There's 50 colleges and universities that are available through Saturday Neon, or as we say, personalized items as well. Go to SaturdayNeon.com, use the code DLLS. You will get 10% off. All right, so the question that the deGrom news begs, Jeff, is pretty obvious. Who then, I think the answer is pretty obvious too, who then starts opening day?
Well, it sure heck looks like Nathan Eovaldi will.
Right. Yeah.
He's signed the contract to come back. He did it last year. He had a great season last year. I think that it would be a shocking turn of events. Something bad would have to happen for Nathan to not be the opening day starter. So Bruce Bochy was asked about that, and he said, "Well, we're not going to say anything until we talk to the player about it." But it seems pretty obvious, and if the deGrom shoe is already dropped, then, well, yeah, I think Nathan's the next logical choice. He pitched in a B game yesterday, 4 scoreless innings, I believe it was. He might have given up a run, whatever it was. It was very good and efficient and clean, and so yeah, so that's good. Um, if it's not him, then John Gray, who knows?
Yeah, right.
But
Possibility.
Nathan sure seems like the guy,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
nothing has appears to have derailed him this spring. He gave up a couple runs in his first outing, a run in his second outing, but his next time out will be 5 innings, so he's progressing nicely, and looking like he's on his way to kicking off this 3-year, $75 million contract extension with a heck of a year.
Yeah, and he is absolutely the classic case of a guy, Jeff, who will approach each and every spring training outing with a purpose and almost no eye to the results, right? I mean, this is a time for him to get ready. He's been at this long enough to know exactly what his body needs to do, what his arm needs to do in order to be ready to make that opening day start or any start in the first week of the season.
Yeah, and he said in the first after his first start that he's working on a little bit of a two-seamer to just gives another look, and he wasn't very happy with it that day, but he's had more time to tinker with it. And these guys just still, it's spring training, but they treat it like they would a normal start on a normal schedule. So he throws bullpen sessions and all that stuff, and keeps working on his task. um, so that's good. And yeah, it's just a professional approach. He knows what he's doing. This is not his first rodeo. He's many rodeos into his career, and
Yeah.
I expect that he'll get to five at some point this this weekend. I believe he'll start, get to six for the next start, and then he may get dialed back a couple starts, or maybe he'll go five twice and then a six. But that last spring outing will be just a little tune up to get him a touch and feel. Let's say work on a couple other little things that might be missing, and then they'll get him out of there after 3 innings, 4 innings, and get him ready for the Red Sox.
Yeah. So 10 players, I think it was 10, were sent out yesterday. The process has begun, but some very notable names, foremost among them, really the best position player prospect in the organization, Jeff. Sebastian Walcott among those sent over to minor league camp.
Yeah, and we asked Bruce Bochy about that this morning. He like he said the guy doesn't have a ceiling. He can be as good as he wants to be. All kinds of tools. I asked him, does he need to start playing a different position? Because Corey Seager is pretty firmly entrenched at shortstop for the Rangers, and that's Walcott's position. And Bochy said, no, it's too early to do that. Let him keep playing shortstop. He looks great at shortstop, even though he's a big, big guy. I think eventually, and a lot of people have thought this, is that he's the right fielder of the future once Adolis either doesn't resign or isn't resigned. But uh, Sebastian just does a lot of things and does them very well. He needs to cut down his chase, but he had a home run this spring in a Cactus League game. So he goes to camp, minor league camp, feeling with some feel good, if you will. That's a big football term, but feeling good, and knowing what it takes to get to the major leagues. He again was lockered next to Marcus Simeon, was taking ground balls with Corey Seager. You think that those guys didn't give him some pointers and tell him some things, and even if they were, even when they weren't speaking to him, he could just watch them and see how they went about their business and recognize, maybe I need to do this to my routine, um, be dedicated, work hard every day. If you're sore, you fight through it. Those type of things. So, and Sebastian's come a long way. His birthday is the 14th of March, when he will officially turn 19. He's come a long way in 2 years. Just talking to him, listening to him, you can tell there's more maturity there. He even mentioned that to us when we had him on the podcast. This is a good kid, and if he continues to just not try to do too much, not try to live up to the billing. The Athletic has him as the number 2 overall prospect in baseball. Ignore that stuff. Just go out and be yourself. Do what you know how to do. Don't try to do too much. I imagine he starts in Frisco. I wouldn't be surprised if a hot start in Frisco got him to Round Rock pretty quickly. And then again, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but um, an injury, a fairly big injury could open the door to Sebastian Walcott. Remember, when Adrian Beltre hurt his thumb in 2015, the Rangers went down to Double A and brought up Joey Gallo. He was he was probably ahead of his, probably a little too soon. Maybe hindsight being perfect, but he was the best option at the time. And of course, his first what was it? His first at bat, he hit a double off the wall. The second one, he homered, or maybe it was vice versa. But he had a big opener, got everybody excited. Um, I'm not gonna put that on Sebastian Walcott right away. The Rangers are probably in a different place where they don't need to necessarily rush him if there's a big injury. But if he's ready for it, if he looks like he can hang, then you might see him.
Well, and because he is so young, Jeff, it begs the question, Okay, let's say there are no injuries that necessitate that this year. Is he a September call-up this year at 19, or do you wait at least another year before he would be something like that?
Yeah, it just, you have ideas of, if you're the front office, of how you want the team to look in 26 and 27. And, Adolis Garcia should be better this year. There's no doubt about that. So and you don't need to rush somebody if everybody's producing. If there's a obvious and glaring hole that needs to be filled, then maybe you do it. Um, but I think you can be patient with them. Again, he's still 18. He's still 18. He'll be 19
Amazing.
on opening day. Okay. But he's still, as of this moment, 18 years old, and hasn't really. He played a week at Double A, and they played on the road at Amarillo, where everybody can hit. So you know he needs to see some Double A pitching, obviously. But by September, you don't know if let's say he's at Round Rock and Round Rock is in the playoff hunt, and you want him to experience playoff baseball. All right, you let him do that. The AAA season goes damn near as long as the major league season these days. So do you let him play, you know, 100 and I don't know, 30 games, what would amount to a full season, 500 at bats in the minor leagues this year to get a feel of what a full season feels like? Because when you get to AAA, you're not taking the bus anymore, unless it's from Round Rock to Sugar Land. I think they bust that, but you're on planes, but still you're in middle seats, and you're not you're not on the charter. You're
Yeah.
carrying your own bags, but you're getting a little bit more of a taste. You have some long trips to Tacoma and Sacramento. Well, yeah, I guess
Sure.
Sacramento, but I don't know that there's a need to rush him.
No,
Now, if
agreed.
the Rangers want him to experience a September stretch run and what it's like to watch Simeon and Seager get ready for big games down the stretch, then maybe you could do it.
Yeah, but that seasoning and that cooking still, cooking in the oven, the minor league oven, I think would be a good thing for this young man. Let's look at today's lineup and see what the Rangers have in store for them and what game you'll be watching today. There you see it. It's the Rangers against a familiar foe all season long, the Athletics today. And it's, again, pretty familiar at the top of that order. And in fact, Jeff, getting for sure all the way down to Evan Carter, Josh Smith, Jonah Heim. I mean, it's a good looking lineup that I think we've seen already in spring training. It can provide some pop, those guys.
Yeah, and you look at that one and you're like, all right, where's what happens when Wyatt Langford's healthy? Does Evan Carter drop to the 9 hole? Um, Maybe. Does Jonah Heim drop to the 9 hole? Possible. But I think that's a pretty salty lineup when they're all healthy and clicking. Um, so the interesting thing I thought was that Josh Smith is playing right field today. So he's making the rounds out there in the outfield, and they really want this guy to get at bats and find a way to do it. It's not easy to do with everybody accounted for. Although, is Josh Smith the first man up if Adolis is going to be out any amount of time? And maybe this is a reaction to that. It certainly could be. Um, Looking forward to seeing Dane Dunning, and then down there at the bottom of the lineup was Alejandro Osuna. And when you talk about the first round of cuts yesterday, you kind of look at who didn't get cut, and he didn't get cut. And Robbie Alstrom, the left-hander, didn't get cut. So there are a couple guys who, could have been in that first wave, but weren't. So the Rangers want to see more of them. So keep your eyes on
Yeah,
guys who really could have been cut, but weren't.
yeah. There's a reason, though. Everything's done for a reason. So we will keep a close eye on that. no doubt about it. We've got more coming up. I want to talk a little bit more with Jeff about Josh Smith, and we'll also sort of focus back in on the closer battle as it continues to develop in spring training. We'll try to handicap that just a little bit as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. But we tell you first about Rugged Road, the cooler that Jeff certainly would need out there where he is in Arizona. And, you know, around here, you still could use it. Last night, you wouldn't have wanted to leave it outside. Even light as these things are, might have blown away. It's a beautifully light and easy to carry cooler that is made so well and keeps your things cold for at least 7 days. So we encourage you to investigate the greatness of the Rugged Road Cooler. Your adventure begins with Rugged Road Cooler because what you do is you pack it full of the food and the drinks that you want to take with you on your adventure, and then off you go. You grab it. If you're going somewhere that's watery, you throw it in the water and let it float with you as you head out on your adventure. Rugged Road Coolers are fantastic. We love them. We think you will too. Go to ruggedroad.com. Use the code DLLS to get 10% off.
The Game Time app works in Arizona, and if you want to get tickets if you're here in town watching and want to get tickets to a Suns game, or maybe you want to try out a spring venue you haven't been to, go to Game Time, download it, insert the code DLLS. You'll get $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. John loves it. He's made some good friends over there at Game Time. And it's not just ball games, it's concerts, it's theater, it's comedy shows. It's just about anything they sell a ticket to. So you get all in pricing. We talked about yesterday, there's a $6 ticket to the Kings and Mavs game, which ultimately, if you spent six, you probably wish you hadn't because of the Kyrie Irving injury. But you still get the best price, I think, on the secondary market, and you know what you're getting. So again, first time users, download the app, use the code DLLS, and you get $20 off your first purchase.
So and by the way, along those lines, to the kind of thing that Game Time has, even the Deep Ellum places, sometimes I don't go to Deep Ellum very often now, but when I was younger and did, be like, man, do I want to go down there and fight through that, parking in the crowd and then maybe not get in? Well, now you can buy a ticket before you go. So it's a heck of a deal. It's a heck of a deal. Now, I want to get back to Josh Smith. Two guys, actually, from the roster, the lineup today, Jeff. Josh Smith, I heard Boach on the radio yesterday say again, in spring training, Josh Smith is going to play every position but catcher. It's just the versatility they not only want out of him, but really in order for him to get the reps that he deserves and that they want him to get, he kind of needs that versatility, doesn't he?
He does. And, what a great player to have. First of all, he gets on base. He has some power in his bat, left-handed hitter, fast, although I don't know that he steals a ton of bases. He could. But yeah, the Rangers know he can play third and shortstop, shortstop being his natural position. They've seen him in left field. They assume he can play second, though Marcus Semien doesn't really give anybody else a chance. So they've tried him at first base. Uh, he's started multiple games in center field, and then today right field. So he is going to cover a lot of ground. He's going to learn how bats come off of balls in different spots. Yeah, it's just experience that he needs because, like you said, like Broach said, the guy needs at bats. He earned them. This was a guy who was a Silver Slugger winner last year. Sure, he faded a little bit at times last season, which is to be expected for a guy who's really playing as a full-time big leaguer for the first time. That's fine. Now he's better built for round two. I don't know what the magic number is for him though on at bats. How many at bats you want him to get a week? He's not without injury going to be able to get um, 30 at bats. Can you get him 20? Well, yeah, probably you can. But another complicating factor is Jock Peterson being the full-time DH. So when last year they like to use that spot to rotate players through and give them off days. So if Corey Seager needed a day off, well, you could just go throw him in the DH spot and put Josh in at shortstop, and there you go. So it's going to be a little different, if a lefty's pitching, I would expect Jock to not be in the lineup. So maybe that's a way for Josh to get in the game. But again, depending on what happens with Adolis here, you might have your everyday right fielder if Adolis is missing time out there. Um, Again, got to take a wait and see approach on that, but trying to find Josh Smith at bats and teaching him to play other positions is definitely a Rangers priority this spring.
No doubt, and Boch and everybody in the organization would rather have that pleasant dilemma, if you will, of figuring out a way to get him in the lineup than needing him in the lineup, like they did, for example, last year for darn near the entire season at third base.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you hope that's not how he gets his at bats. Nobody, not even Josh Smith, wants to see somebody hurt as his avenue to getting at bats. But it's always a possibility. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to get hurt, and so you're going to need guys like him. And look at it this way: the Rangers have first baseman in the system. They have Justin Foscue, first round draft choice in 2020. They have Blaine Crim, who we all love. Dustin Harris can play first base. He can play right field. Okay. And yet here you are with Josh Smith being thrust above all of them at positions he hasn't played. So that tells you what the Rangers think of Josh Smith. And, some of it has to do with their roster situation. Sure. Having a player like Josh Smith uh, gives you so much flexibility as a manager that you don't have to worry about, um, carrying multiple guys. If you're short in the outfield, well, you got an outfielder in Josh Smith. If you're short on the infield, well, you have an infielder in Josh Smith. So you can do some other things with your bench to help the manager make his job a little easier too.
Yeah, other guy I wanted to mention, Jeff, is Dane Dunning, who's had, his Cactus League games have been great thus far. We know how hard he worked in the off season, and it does feel like those, the work he put in, but also just sort of lighting that competitive fire under him has conspired to really, it's almost like a new version, and maybe it's a new older version of Dane Dunning, but he sure looks good.
Yeah, 2 years ago he was the Rangers pitcher of the year, and Bruce Bochy again today said he was our most valuable pitcher in 2023. That's the year the Rangers won the World Series. They don't win it without Dane Dunning. Um, they haven't really settled on a role for him yet. He's just competing. I think everybody expects him to end up in the bullpen as he did to start 23 as a piggybacker with deGrom, and who knows? Again, injuries are a hell of a thing, and they're a real thing. And should something befall a starter, Dane might be the first guy up. He's lost weight. He's in good shape. His pitches are back to what they were, the shape they were in 23. And it's it's good to have all this depth. It raises the floor of the club, meaning that you have to be pretty damn good to make the roster. And Dane's doing the things, and I'm sure it's a hell of a thing when your job is no longer secure. And you think you got it made in the shade, and then all of a sudden you lay an egg for whatever reason, and then in one season, and then gosh, I got to get my butt into shape. I need to get back to what I was doing. What I have last year wasn't good enough, and so yeah, competing is a hell of a thing, and that's why you see a lot of competition in camp. That's why you see a lot of veteran guys who are here. Kevin Pillar, chief among them now. So it's Jesse Chavez could be one of those guys if he doesn't outright make the roster. It just seems like there's uh, a lot of things that everybody had in their mind going into spring training, and after shoot 10 days of games, it's kind of like now have those things changed. And one of the guys who we're going to talk about here is Emiliano Teodo, who hit 100 1 miles an hour, you go ahead and round up that 100.8, did it 3 times, so is Emiliano Teodo all of a sudden a guy who can make this team? Well, that's kind of the buzz out here. Is that what's best for the organization? If he's one of the 13 best, and the Rangers think that this guy's going to get big outs in the bullpen, a bullpen that doesn't have a closer. Not saying he's the closer, but maybe he could be at some point. And gosh, you have to consider it. Robbie Alstrom, Bruce Bochy, and Mike Maddox yesterday were watching the B game. It was running long. They needed to get over to the stadium for the A game. They cut Winston Santos short and asked Alstrom to warm up quickly so that they could watch him pitch. So he goes out and tosses a 1-2-3 inning. So I mean, there are guys who are at least making impressions, and who they're going to want to see more of. Now, will Robbie Alstrom make the team? It sure doesn't seem like it. There are a lot of guys ahead of him. But Jack Leiter sure seems like he's going to make the team. And I don't know if entering spring training, if people thought that was a possibility, would he go to AAA and be a starter? I know at various points in the offseason, I kind of thought that was his route. But now it looks like that's what's going to happen to Kamar Rocker. It could happen to both of them because, Mark Church is impressing people. And it is early. Decisions don't have to be made yet. Monday is an off day. Off days are always a day for the coaches to get together in the front office, evaluate the players, and make some decisions on roster cuts. So, the next day um, could be Monday, the night a night game Friday. So maybe the coaches meet Thursday morning. That could be another time to shore up the roster a little bit, because eventually they are going to run out of innings. Pitchers are going to start going longer in games, which means fewer relievers are going to be needed. So these relievers who are in camp hoping to get a shot, well, they may end up in minor league camp here before too long, just because of simple fact he's running out of innings. The same thing happens with at bats when Corey Seager and Marcus Semien start trying to get 3 and 4 at bats a game and play into the fifth and sixth innings. Well, that's less opportunity for guys to play.
Yeah, and so along those lines of that competition that you mentioned, Jeff, it's a nice transition into this situation at closer. I think it was also in the B game that Robert Garcia threw yesterday, and the lefty, it's his first Cactus League action, and he went 1-2-3, looked really good, really efficient in that inning, and he's quoted afterwards as saying, "Hey, I've always thought I'd be a closer at some point in my career. Why not now?" I mean, that and center field appear to be the two places where there is, full-on competition. That is closer and center field.
Yeah, and I don't know. I still think by committee is the plan, but when you have a closer, as Bruce Bochy's had with the great Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer early in his career, and then with Brian Wilson in that 2010 when they beat the Rangers in the World Series. You know who the ninth inning guy is going to be. The whole team knows. All the other relievers know, so they can get into their routines. The closer, he's on his own routine, man. He knows he's not going to be needed until the ninth inning, so he can sit back and chill and get a massage and get his arm loosened up, and then he can head out to the bullpen in the sixth inning, seventh inning. He's not going to be needed before then. So just take his time. Anyway, it just sets everything up. It sets up all the other guys. So ideally, in a perfect world, that's what you have. Otherwise, it's kind of chaos. When you're just trying to go matchup to matchup. Every guy is on edge, starting probably in the sixth inning. How are we going to be used today? All of this, all that. So I think ultimately you're going to see a guy get a chance to be the closer, and it may take a few weeks to sort itself out. But I think that's just what everybody would want, is to have a guy who's going to go be the guy in the ninth inning, and it may it may be a little bumpy for a while, uh, and that bumpiness really might convince Ray Davis, holy crap, we need to go get a closer, and maybe that's kind of the spur, or the whip in the butt that Ray Davis needs to see a guy blow 4 or 5 saves, so. It is a question. I think it's going to hang over the team for a little while, especially if if the committee thing isn't working out, or if one guy doesn't work and then it goes to another guy, it kind of gets passed around until somebody secures the job. But I think you get to see some big arms. Garcia is certainly one of them. Luke Jackson, who we've talked about, who was on the weekly show, the most recent weekly show episode. He's another guy. Chris Martin, of course, and then a guy like Toyota who just opens some eyes, and you never know. It's a lot easier to go from being stretched out as a starter and then going into a relief role than vice versa. So he is being stretched out as a starter. I know his opinion, his outing the other day was just 1 inning, again, because he's a young guy, and really his only way of making the team this spring would be as a reliever. So the Rangers wanted to get a look at it, but it's 100 miles an hour. It's a good slider. It's a developing changeup. Um, it may not be a bad option at some point. I just don't know about right now.
Yeah, it'll be a really interesting thing to watch, and certainly can keep us very interested through the last few weeks here of spring training. We've got more coming up as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. It's our cleanup segment. There's some controversy, there's some fun, and some birthday wishes next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, we're both merchless, it appears, today, Jeff, but I just got the notice. One of my other ones is on the way. I got the St. Patty's Day shirt. I wore the foul weather gear, as I mentioned, though, because the weather when I got ready to go to work. And anyway, so but just because we're not wearing any today doesn't mean we don't love it, because we do. All the merchandise is great. Mostly the shirts. We're going to get hats soon. There's other stuff too. Go to store.allcitynetwork.com and check out the very latest things. And don't forget, you've still got time, because they come quickly. You've still got time to get your St. Patty's Day shirts. That's the one I got, the with the little leprechaun on it. It's likely I'll wear that tomorrow, and it's a certainty that I'll wear it on St. Patty's Day, which, as we learned yesterday, is 2 weeks from yesterday. So
that's right.
I saw you checking, Jeff.
I do have merch on today.
You do?
Yeah, I have on the gray horseshoe shirt that you wore yesterday, I believe.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so
yeah.
Good. Store.allcitynetwork.com.
But it's a little chilly in the mornings here. I got to wear the hoodie in the mornings. All right.
Yeah, I understand. It's supposed to be warming up there by now.
Yeah, I guess yesterday was pretty chilly. There was some rain in the area, but you can get a sweatshirt at store.allcitynetwork.com too,
Sure.
and you get a free T-shirt, John, as you know, when you become a diehard. And boy, do we want you to become a diehard. The numbers are growing quickly, very, very rapidly. Our next benchmark isn't that far away. We want you to help us get there. You do so by going to allcity.com/join, or by scanning that handy dandy little QR code right there. If you missed out on our $48 spring training deal, the regular price is back in effect at $80. But if you sweet talk me enough, I might find my way into the GM's office and see if we can't get you into that nicer price point. It's not just the free shirt; it's coverage for all of our teams. Me on the Rangers, Cowboys, Mavs, Stars, and it's 20% off events when we start doing those. And we've already had a couple with our Mavs and Stars folks. So again, alldlls.com/join. Become a diehard today.
Yeah, we encourage you to do that. And we have controversy to discuss in the first spot in the cleanup order here, Jeff, because and it seems to me to this point, everything Travis Hunter, the great Colorado two-way football player, and you're a Colorado guy, I know, but everything he's done to this point, I have loved, right? I think he's just carried himself well. He plays so well, everything. Well, he came out yesterday with a statement, and I'll paraphrase it because I don't have the exact statement in front of me, but basically that said what he did playing two ways for the University of Colorado there was more difficult than what Shohei Ohtani is doing. Even our football guys, Jeff, call BS on that, right? It's just there is no way. And maybe you could make that case if you were someone doing it as Travis is doing in the NFL. But even if he comes to the NFL and tries to go both ways, he won't play, a full set of downs each way. He won't play every snap of the game as he sometimes has done in college. It's just not possible in the NFL. But if he did that, maybe you could make the case that that's harder than what Shohei Ohtani does. And I'm not even sure you could then.
Yeah, University of Colorado, which counts 4 of my family members among its long list of alumnus, uh, they stopped playing baseball. I think in the 1980s. They produced a real good player, John Stearns, the former catcher who passed away recently. He was with the Mets most notably. So they don't have college baseball. You can look at the Big 12 standings in Colorado, and I think Iowa State are nowhere to be found. So Travis maybe hasn't had enough experience around a baseball team. It is difficult. Now, what he does is tremendous. You go from being tackled to tackling. You go from being the guy that defensive backs want to hit, catching the ball, to being the guy who wants to hit the receiver. Terrific stuff. He won the Heisman. He deserved it. Great student too. His girlfriend seems a little nutty, but other than that, he is solid. But no, he's wrong here. You kind of look at what he did. 100 plays. Hey, I'm not one to say that's easy. He does it once a week, and in practices, you get some breaks and you get to go back and forth between offense and the defense. Okay, great. You're going against the scout team. You're not hitting a lot during the week. Shohei Ohtani, what he does is 7 days a week. Now he only pitches once a week, maybe twice, depending on how the rotation falls. But he's batting every day. He's working on his pitching every day. These guys work out every day. It's not like you just show up at 7 o'clock and go. What Shohei Ohtani is doing at the level he's doing it is historic. It's very, very difficult. And yes, Travis Hunter being a two-way player, winning the Heisman Trophy, more so than Charles Woodson did it the year he won it over Peyton Manning. Tough assignment for Travis. Good for him, but it's once a week. I know NFL teams practice also throughout the week, but nevertheless, what Shohei Ohtani is doing at the very highest level in his sport, as opposed to Travis Hunter at a high level in college on a team that lost 3 times, well, it's still not quite what Shohei Ohtani is doing.
No, it's not the highest level. And what Shohei Ohtani is doing, even hearing you and when we discuss it, it's like, man, that guy is so busy. And in fact, you think that Shohei Ohtani would be so busy, Jeff, that he wouldn't have time for pranks. But he does. And he has pranked his manager a couple of times. Last year, after he famously gave a Porsche away for his new number, he told manager Dave Roberts when he did something nice for him, I'm going to give you one too. And he gave him a toy Porsche. So Dave didn't love that prank. And then there was some more pranking by Shohei when he put a slightly larger Porsche in Dave Roberts' parking spot earlier during spring training. Dave comes out from the day of work and he sees this little toy Porsche in his parking spot. So Dave has gotten his revenge. Take a look.
Now tie.
All right, Shohei, you got me the first round. I told you, you know what they say about payback. So what I have done is, you see this pretty face right here? That's me with all these balls. And I put all these balls in your car. So enjoy it, keep these pictures, and have fun cleaning your car out.
You have a message for Doc?
Nothing.
Nothing? What did you think?
I don't know, I did a trouble song.
Pranks are fun, Jeff.
Notice he didn't use, like, you've seen those pranks where they do the popcorn
Yeah.
with all the butter. Well, that'll stain the upholstery, and I don't
Yes.
think everybody appreciates those pranks.
No.
I like the saran wrap prank, where you wrap the car in saran wrap.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sure that one of the clubhouse assistants was very instrumental in helping Dave Roberts pull that one off. You had to get Shohei Ohtani's keys somehow. Now, obviously, he runs a pretty loose ship, that Ohtani. Otherwise, the interpreter wouldn't have gotten away with all that he got away with.
Heck
So
of a point.
maybe this is another indication to Ohtani that he needs to keep his keys on him at all times. But good for Dave. Gotta get back, and you are the manager. You got to make sure the player remembers that.
Yeah, and you're a manager who's a longtime player too. So
Right.
right? You know how that clubhouse is working. So yeah, I just love that. I love that a guy who is that busy, and to be that busy, you have to be very serious about your approach. But just the laughing and the fun and the joy that he showed in there, and appreciating the payback, I thought that was just fantastic. So that's what they're doing over there in Dodgers camp. Now, on the other side of the country, in Florida, one of the things they're doing, Jeff, is they are trying Jose Altuve at a new position. We've talked about this a lot. Altuve's been playing left field, and the word is now he's going to stay there. They're not going to use him sometimes at second base and sometimes out in left field. He's just going to be out in left field.
Well, I'm guessing he probably welcomes that, not having to worry about getting reps at both spots. He can focus on his new position and try to get as good as he can before opening day. Like we've talked about, some people think left field can be the hardest outfield position because of the way the ball comes off the right-handed hitter's bats, even the left-handed hitter's bats. Um, so there's some stuff for him to learn. I'm sure he will spend a lot of time there in the first few days before the season, learning how balls come off of that silly scoreboard and how they go into the triangle and bounce off the triangle. Probably needs to learn what's a home run and what isn't. If that home run line that goes above, way above the bullpen out there in left field, the visiting bullpen. So there's a lot for him to learn, and not having to worry about, oh shoot, I got to get my 25 grounders and work on double plays at second base. This will free him up a little bit and help him get comfortable in left field.
Yeah, and no doubt he initially said he would play left in the thought that Alex Bregman might come back, and he was like, "I'll do anything for Alex. I'll do anything to bring Alex back." And then management kind of got the idea, like, "Well, maybe we can do this anyway." And to his great credit, I mean, this is a superstar player. Altuve is doing it, even though Bregman didn't come back.
Yeah, and he's a veteran guy. He's been around a while. Houston's the only place he's known as far as being a professional athlete. And things change as you get older in a career. There's talk of at some point is Corey Seager not going to be able to play shortstop? Ernie Banks had to move to first base. Mickey Mantle had to move to first base. There are guys who, throughout baseball history have had to switch positions. We talked about Bryce Harper and that Fanatics tattoo. Bryce Harper, the right fielder, but he had to have what, Tommy John surgery, and his fastest way back was to play first base. Well, shoot, he's their first baseman now, and and he's doing pretty good there. So it's not unusual to see it, but you do have to buy into it. You have to get used to the idea. Spring training allows you time to do that, whether you don't like it initially or not. You get out there, you get a feel for it. You realize this is my job now going forward, and it becomes part of your routine and part of your mindset.
All right, I love Misty with a super chat. We thank you for that. And wonders, Jeff, did you get to see any of that Rangers Royals charity kickball game when you got into town last night?
No, we were late, but they went 9 innings. They got in 9 innings in an hour. So they were kicking. They weren't wasting any time. Maybe they had dinner reservations. I don't know, but it was for a good cause. Raise some money, which you always like to see. And the Rangers' wives have really kind of they go outside of the box a lot of times in what they do, and This is a good one, and I am sorry I missed it. It was at the stadium, but yeah, John Moore and I didn't get to town. We didn't land until about 6:15, and by the time we get our bags and get our luggage and everything, we didn't make it. But good for the wives. Um, I did though. We did talk about it this morning. It's like, you know, if you swing and miss, you should be automatically out.
In
And if you
kickball. Yeah.
in kickball. And
Yeah.
then the other one was if you foul two straight balls off, if you can't keep your kick fair, then you should automatically be out. But a lot of these wives or some of these wives are athletes. Josh Sports' wife was a terrific college soccer player, and
Yes,
Marcus
she
Simi's
was.
wife played college volleyball.
Yeah.
So Blaine Crim's wife, she was an awesome soccer player. She's actually a college coach now, so she wasn't part of the group. But there's some athletes out there. Cody Bradford's wife played college softball, and we know about Wyatt's wife currently playing softball, so she wasn't part of it. But there's some pretty good athletes out there.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. We appreciate the super chat. I love Misty, and we appreciate each and every one of you in the chat. That's going to do it for another day. Jeff's first in his second trip to Arizona. We'll have him there each and every day this week. We'll be on Wednesday through Friday at noon to bring you the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.